Jai Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Nidai Gauranga, Jaya Nidai Gauranga, Nidai Gauranga, Jaya Nidai Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jam Vishnupad Paramans Parviraj Gacharya Sto Darshat His Divine Grace Abhay Charana Arvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. We are reading from Canto 1, Chapter 2 and text number 26. Mumukshavo Ghorarupan Hitva Bhuta Badinnatha Narayana Kalashanda Bhajantihi Anasuyavaha Mumukshavo Ghorarupan Hitva Bhuta Patinnatha Narayana Kalashanta Bhajantihi Anasuyavaha Mumukshavo Ghorarupan Hitva Bhuta Badinnatha Narayana Kalashanta Bhajanti Anasuyavaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Those who are serious about liberation are certainly non-envious, and they respect all. Yet they reject the horrible and ghastly forms of the demigods and worship only the all blissful forms of Lord Vishnu and his plenary portions. Please repeat the translation. Those who are serious about liberation are certainly non-envious, and they respect all. Yet they reject the horrible and ghastly forms of the demigods and worship only the all blissful forms of Lord Vishnu and his plenary portions. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, who is the original person of the Vishnu categories, expands himself in two different categories, namely integrated plenary portions and separated parts and parcels. The separated parts and parcels are the servitors, and the integrated plenary portions of Vishnu Tattvas are the worshipful objects of service. The demigods who are empowered by the Supreme Lord are also separated parts and parcels. They do not belong to the categories of Vishnu Tattvas. The Vishnu Tattvas are living beings equally as powerful as the original form of the personality of Godhead, and they display different categories of power in consideration of different times and circumstances. The separated parts and parcels are powerful by limitation. They do not have unlimited powers like the Vishnu Tattvas, therefore, one should never classify the Vishnu Tattvas or the plenary portions of Narayan, the personality of Godhead, in the same categories with the parts and parcels. If anyone does so, he becomes at once an offender by the name Pashandi. In the age of Kali, many foolish persons commit such unlawful offense and equalize the two categories. The separated parts and parcels have different positions in the estimation of material powers, and some of them are like Kal Bhairav, Samshan Bhairav, Shani, Mahakali, and Chandiga. These demigods are worshipped mostly by those who are in the lowest categories of the mode of darkness of ignorance. Other demigods like Brahma, Shiva, Surya, Ganesha, and many other deities are worshipped by man in the mode of passion, urged by urged on by the desire for material enjoyment. But those who are actually situated in the mode of goodness, Sattva of material nature, worship only Vishnu Tattvas. Vishnu Tattvas are represented by various names and forms such as Narayan, Damodar, Vaman, Govinda, and Adokshaja. The qualified Brahmanas worship the Vishnu Tattvas represented by the Shaligram Shila, and some of the higher castes like Kshatriyas and Vaishyas also generally worship the Vishnu Tattvas. Highly qualified Brahmanas situated in the mode of goodness have no grudges against the mode of worship of others. They have all respect for other demigods, even though they may look ghastly, like Kal Bhairav or Mahakali. They know very well that those horrible features of the Supreme Lord are all different servitors of the Lord under different conditions. Yet, they reject the worship of both horrible and attractive features of the demigods, and they concentrate only on the forms of Vishnu because they are serious about liberation from the material conditions. The demigods, even to the stage of Brahma, the supreme of all the demigods, cannot offer liberation to anyone. Hiranyakashipu underwent a severe type of penance to become eternal in life, but his worshipful deity Brahma could not satisfy him with such blessings. Therefore, Vishnu and none else is called Muktipad, or the personality of Godhead who can bestow upon us mukti, liberation. The demigods, being like other living entities in the material world, are all liquidated at the time of the annihilation of the material structure. They are themselves unable to get liberation, and what to speak of giving liberation to their devotees. The demigods can award the worshippers some temporary benefit only, and not the ultimate one. It is for this reason only that candidates for liberation deliberately reject the worship of the demigods, although they have no disrespects for any one of them. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Dasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nidinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Bhashya Dadeshadarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, this verse is talking about different worshippers So here, this mumukshava means the person desiring liberation. So those who are interested in liberation, whom they will worship, versus other category of worshippers. So this mumukshvas, they hitva, they reject. What they reject? Ghora Rupan, all these horrible and ghastly forms and different demigods, Bhutpatin, and they worship only Narayana Kalashantaha. So they worship only the all blissful forms of Lord Vishnu. So this is the verse here. So Prabhupada is explaining in one lecture that it was in 1950 or 51 sometime. Sorry. So in Jhansi, there was a meeting. It was disappearance of Gandhi, 1950. So they were, all the followers of Gandhi, they were kind of meeting and celebrating. So Prabhupada was asked to talk something about non-violence. So Gandhi's philosophy was non-violence. So Prabhupada was explaining that, I explained that violence means if you have got some right and if someone by force stops you to utilize your right, that is violence. If you deserve something, you have the right. But if somebody is forcing you not to, get your thing, that is violence. And then Prabhupada explains that this human form of life is so rare, so special. We have the right to achieve the highest. But all these leaders, so-called leaders, the philosophers, scientists, they are just misleading the common mass. And they're making them more and more materialistic. So actually, they're doing violence. All these so-called leaders, philosophers, and all of them. The idea is the leader should guide their subjects, educate them, trigger their desire that this human form of life is meant for liberation. But they are rather misleading them. So this is the violence. So Prabhupada is explaining that this mumukshuvihi, desiring for liberation. Most of the people, they doesn't know what is liberation. They are not interested in liberation. But those who are interested in liberation, they worship the Supreme Lord Vishnu. And the so-called leaders, so-called even spiritual leaders, those on the name of spirituality, they teach them something about good life, better life, prosperous life. This is all misleading. Anda, what is that verse? Adha anda yathander upgiya manas. The blind leading the blind, and they'll all fall in ditch. So that is the unfortunate situation of these modern people and then modern leaders. These leaders doesn't know what they desire, and common mass also, they're not interested. That is why Narottam Das Thakur is sing this song. Hari Hari Bifale Janama Gonainu Manushya Janama Paya Radha Krishna na Bhajiya Janiya Shuniya Vijakainu. So in this human form of life, if we does not worship Radha and Krishna, then you are knowingly, consciously, you are eating poison. And these leaders, modern leaders, they're just leading people in that direction of eating poison, distracting them. Right. So this is mumukshuvihi. So those who are interested in liberation, very few though, manushya nam shastreshu kaschid yadid siddhe, but then they should worship the Supreme Lord. So here Prabhupada is explaining the devotees, they are not envious of other demigods or other worshippers. They understand their position also, but they do not accept their worship. They reject their worship. Mamokshva ghor rupan hitva. Hitva means rejecting the worship. They are not disrespecting the demigods. There's a difference between disrespecting someone versus not agreeing on something. So you can very respectfully can disagree. So the devotees very respectfully they disagree not to worship the demigods with the understanding that worshipping demigod is not equal to worshipping the Supreme Lord, unlike some ignorant people they think. Their philosophy, the famous philosophy, yatomat tatopat. Whatever you think, whatever you like, you do, and that becomes your path. Is such a misleading philosophy. Prabhupada was talking to one Indian lady. I'll talk about that conversation. It's interesting. So, the devotees, they're respectful to the devatas, the Ghora Rupan, but they reject their worship because they understand. And Prabhupada is explaining here, and there are different expansions are there. One is integrated and one is separated. So all the integrated expansion is all the Vishnu Tattvas, and separated is all living entities, Jeev Tattva, which includes even the demigods. Demigods are also Jeev Tattva. So devotee understand that they are also Jeev Tattva. They have no power to give me the ultimate benefit. They can probably award me some temporary benefit, but I am not interested in all this temporary benefit. With that understanding, very respectfully, the devotee, especially here, the word is used as mumukshava. So they reject their worship. Right. And then Prabhupada is explaining here that worship also can be done in different modes. One can understand by their worship that what mode one person is in. Right. So the Brahmanas, the Sattvic people, they worship in the Vishnu form or Shaligram Shila. And then those who are very passionate people, a lot of materialistic desires, they worship different demigods, Brahma, Shiva, Ganesha, and like that. And those who are tamoguni people, their desire is like very base desire. They will worship all this Ghora Rupan, Kali, Bhairav, and all those kind of things. Right. But devotee understand that even up to the Brahma and Lord Shiva, they cannot award the liberation. They can give you some temporary benefits. Right. Because the demigod themselves, they are temporary. Prabhupada is saying here, they are liquidated at the time of annihilation. When the pralaya happens, even all these devatas, they also goes into the pralaya. So they themselves are temporary. How they can award you something which is permanent? So this is the understanding. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this verse is there where it is explained. Vedadi Shakala Shastre Krishna Mukhya Sambandh Tanra Gyan Anusange Yaya Maya Bandh. Vedadi Shakala Shastre. Vedadi Shakala Shastra means all the scriptures, all the revealed scriptures, beginning with the Vedas. Krishna Mukhya Sambandh, the central point of attraction is Krishna. Tanra Gyane Anusange Yaya Maya Bandh. When complete knowledge of him is realized, the bondage of Maya, the illusory energy, is automatically broken. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is explaining this, and he's kind of summarizing the purport of the entire Vedic knowledge. As Krishna also says, Vedasya Sarvar Aham Eva Vedyoho. If you are reading the scriptures, you are following some worship or some process, if it is not leading one to connect to Krishna or to know Krishna, then it is waste. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says here that Vedadi Shakle Shastre Krishna Mukhya Sambandh. In all the Vedic literature, all over the world, what is the purpose? Purpose is to understand Krishna, that's all. This is the essence of all the scriptures. Tanra Gyane Anusanga Yaya Maya Bandh. Simply by understanding Krishna, one becomes automatically liberated from this material entanglement. So just by knowing about Krishna, worshipping Krishna, one can easily become free from this entanglement. So a Krishna conscious person hasn't got to make separate endeavor an attempt to become liberated. The more you understand Krishna, the more you become liberated as a byproduct. So this is what is the process of liberation for a devotee. He need not put any extra endeavor. Just know Krishna, serve Krishna. So this Krishna consciousness is so valuable that even little progress will make you liberated from this material entanglement. What is that verse? Little swalpam abhiyasya dharmasya trayate mehato bhayat. So this is just little endeavor you do in Krishna consciousness. It can freeze you from the material entanglement. Right? And then there is one nice verse is quoted from Padma Puran. This verse goes like this. Vyamohaya characharasya jagatasthe Purana agamas tam ebhi devatam parmikam jalpantu kalpabadhi सिद्धांते पुनरेक एव भगवान विष्णु समस्तागम व्यापारेषु विवेचना व्यतिकरम नितेषु निश्चयते. This is quoted from Padma Purana in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Meaning of this verse is this. There are many types of Vedic literature and supplementary Puranas. In each of them, there are particular demigods who are spoken of as the chief demigods. This is just to create an illusion for moving and non-moving living entities. Let them perpetually engage in such imaginations. However, when one analytically studies all these Vedic literatures collectively, he comes to the conclusion that Lord Vishnu is the one and only Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is quoting all these verses from different sources. It is from the Padma Puran. So Prabhupada explains in one of the lecture, there are three divisions of Puranas: Satvik Puran, Rasic Puran and Tamasic Puran. Satvik Puran is meant for the higher class of people who are in transcendental knowledge of Brahman, Paramatma and the Bhagavan. Rasic Puran are meant for those who are aspiring to have improvement of material condition. And Tamasic Puran are meant for those who are in the lowest stage, just like animal life. And to develop them, the Purana is helping them to come to the second and first stage. So Prabhupada in this purport today what we are reading, Prabhupada is explaining about different types of worshippers. So they are driven by the different desires that has been explained here. So in the Puranas, there are worship of different demigods. Just like in the Tamasic Puran, there are description of the worship of goddess Kali. You have seen perhaps the picture of goddess Kali, a black female standing with sword and cutting the heads of so many people like that. That picture goddess Kali. And animal sacrifice is offered before goddess Kali. So such kind of worship is mentioned in the Tamasic Puran. The purpose of such worship and demigods I have several times already explained. Prabhupada is saying that. So in the Satvik Puran, for men who are in the mode of goodness, it is said that although in the different Puran there are the recommendation for worshipping different kinds of demigods, but at the conclusion it is found that Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, He is all in all. And then Prabhupada quotes from the Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter. Who worship the demigods? Kamastestha Jnana Prapadyante Anna Devata. Those who are driven by the materialistic desires, they go and they worship the Devatas. Men of a small intelligence worship the demigods, and the fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planet of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. So like that. So it has been explained, different people driven by different desires. So there has to be the different uh, recommendations for them. And that is why all these different kind of Puranas are there. Many times people ask if ultimately it is Supreme Lord Vishnu only should be worshipped, then why there's so many different types of worship has been explained. So this is the reason, because different people in different modes, their desires are different and they can pick. So idea is gradually encourage them to start worshipping someone somewhere at least. Start from third class, no problem. Then gradually elevate to second class and then first class. But if you initially in the very beginning when they are not ready, if you say no, you reject, then they'll become envious. They'll become rebellious. Say why no? So okay, if they are interested in worshipping Kali or any other form, Guru Rupan, let them do that. First let them start to accept someone as an authority, and gradually in the due course they will also progress further. But as is said, all the Puranas they are recommending, but ultimately the conclusion is this: Aradhananam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Baram. So among all types of worship, Vishnu Aradhana is the supreme worship, and there is something even higher than Vishnu Aradhana. And what is that? Tasmat Partharam Devi Tadiyanam Samarchanam. So this is Lord Shiva is speaking to Parvati. That even higher than worshipping Lord Vishnu, worshipping the devotee of Lord Vishnu, the pure devotee, is even higher. Because through them only we get access to worship the Supreme Lord. Otherwise we don't even understand. Right? So one time one Indian lady came to Prabhupada. She was very inquisitive and she had read something different, so-called spiritualist from India. So she was talking to Prabhupada. So she was referring someone and saying that he was very disciplined, like in his relationship with his wife, and there was no sense gratification in his life. So when he used to be married, he wrote devotional songs, he used to practice to sing, he used to chant, and he used to cry. This Indian lady is referring to someone. And Prabhupada was asking that what is that inspires from that person's life. So she is saying that he was very nice, no sense gratification, devotional even in the Grasta life and all that. So she was confused between the two people, Vivekanand and Ramakrishna. She thought that she was talking about Ramakrishna, but then another person in that conversation, he intervened and he says, of course, first we are talking about Vivekanand, not Ramakrishna. There are two different personalities and two different paths. So Indian lady, yes, but I thought about Ramakrishna. Many times I get devotees who say to me, oh, he's a rascal. I say, I don't know. I cannot say rascal. I don't read him, but he inspired me so much. And I don't know what's wrong. Am I wrong or foolish or not? She is clarifying with Prabhupada that why your devotee is saying that Ramakrishna was a rascal. I felt so inspired by his life because he was nice and all that. Now Prabhupada is saying, now what is the philosophy of Ramakrishna? Indian lady, I did not read it. It does not say that Krishna is God, so I did not read it. And I was very young at that time. Prabhupada, if you want to discuss, there is point of discussion. And then Prabhupada explains. He worshipped Kali, is it not? Everyone knows it. Do you know that? And by worshipping, he became God. Do you agree to that? So Prabhupada is talking on this lady. Do you know this much at least? So this is another person. His name is Dr. Shaligram Shukla. In that conversation. So he's saying, no. He said, I am Rama and Krishna both. That was his philosophy. This is Ramakrishna. Prabhupada. But he realized by worshipping Kali. See, everybody knows that Ramakrishna was worshipping Kali. But later he was saying, I am Rama and Krishna. So Prabhupada is, kind of laughing. He says he was worshipping Kali and he became Rama and Krishna. Devotee, he dressed up as Radharani too. So Prabhupada, so do you agree to that? Then how you appreciate it? So that lady was saying that I appreciate, I feel inspired. So Prabhupada is now clarifying, giving a perspective. What is there to appreciate? The person is confused, worshipping Kali, and he became God, and now he's saying, I am Rama and Krishna. Indian lady, no, I don't appreciate it. Prabhupada, no, no, no. And it is a common sense. Later on, he became God by worshipping Kali, is it not? Dr. Shaligram Shukla, yes. He was cursed by Kali. Prabhupada, no. He was a big worshipper of Kali and he was meat eater also. Ma Kali is prasad. And that unless one eats that prasad, he cannot become a devotee. So this was his position. That he worshipped Kali and later on by worshipping Kali, his picture is there. Mother Kali is embracing. And he also preached Yato mat tato pat. Whatever path you take, accept, that is all right. Is it not? So do you think it is all right? He worshipped Kali and he said Yato mat tato pat. You agree to this? Indian lady, no. Prabhupada. Now, Ramakrishna says Yato mat tato pat. See how Prabhupada is refuting. Prabhupada is saying, he says Yato mat tato pat. And Krishna says, what Krishna says? So this Ramakrishna is saying that I have become Rama and Krishna. And my philosophy is Yato mat tato pat. What Krishna says? Mam ekam sharanam bhaja. So Krishna is saying, this is my philosophy, Mam ekam sharanam bhaja. And this Ramakrishna who is saying, I have become Krishna, he is saying Yato mat tato pat. Just see, when he is actual Krishna, he says Mam ekam. And when he became imitation Krishna, he says Yato mat tato pat. Krishna had changed his views. Prabhupada, jokingly saying that Krishna is only changing his philosophy. So like that. So just see, this foolishness is going on. So those who are all these demigod worshippers, they are not clear in their understanding, first of all. And they just keep misleading the people like that. Right. So in another place, Prabhupada was saying, you may question then, why in the Vedas this worship of Kali is recommended? Yes, it is recommended for the third class man. Third class men, they will not be able to give up. If a third class man, if I say, just like we are preaching, you cannot take meat. Oh, this is not very good advice to the ordinary man. Therefore, they are not coming here. The Swamiji is very conservative. He restricts so many things. So this Krishna consciousness movement is not for the third class man, only first class man. More than first class man. Those who are above first class men, they will understand. So therefore in the Bhagavad Gita, it's stated, Kamastastha Hritagyana. They do not know first class. What is the difference between the first class man and the third class man and the fourth class man? This is very nice, like Prabhupada explained. Good concept. So what is the difference between first class, second class, third class man? They do not know what is the aim of life. That is the difference. How a man becomes first class. How? And then Prabhupada himself answers, by quality. How do you understand somebody is first class, second class? So he is quoting from Chanakya Pandit. Vyavharena jayante. Just like you treat somebody as enemy and you treat somebody as friend. But both the man have the same hands and legs. Maybe whom you treat as enemy, he may be more beautiful. But why you treat him as enemy? Now, Vyavaharena. Na kashid kashachid rupuhu, na kashid kashachid mitro. Nobody is enemy or friend, but Vyavaharena jayante mitrani ripavas tatha. But by your dealings with him, if he acts favorably for you, then he is friend. And if he acts unfavorably for you, then he becomes as enemy. Similarly, the first class, second class, fourth class men, how they are classified? By their behavior. No, that a man is born third class or man is born second class. No, we are all born no class. But how do you behave? Right, that will make you first class. So Prabhupada is saying that whatever you are, you come to become first class. We are inviting everyone. We have no distinction. Krishna has no such distinction, and that Krishna confirms. Mami partha vyapashitra yepishu papayonaya. Somebody is papayoni also. Come, join Krishna consciousness, chant Hare Krishna, and become first class. no third class business, like that. Okay, so I found something interesting in the Chaitanya Charitamrita regarding in connection with what we are reading. Let me just read this. So it has been explained, it is in the Madhya Leela 24th chapter. So this is the chapter which explains the Atmaram verse. So there, in this it has been explained, Moksha Kankshi. The people, they're called Moksha Kankshi. They're desirous of moksha. Now listen this. Moksha Kankshi Gyani Haya Teen Prakar. There are three types of Moksha Kankshi. Mumukshu, Jivan Mukta, Prapta Swarup are. Those who wish to merge into the impersonal Brahman are also divided into three categories. One is Mumukshu. So today's verse what we are reading, Mumukshu Ghora Rupan. Mumukshu means desiring for the liberation. So they are called Moksha Kankshi. So one category is Mumukshu. Mumukshu means those desiring to be liberated. Second category is Jivan Mukta. Those are already liberated. And the third category is Prapta Swarup or those who have realized Brahman. Mumukshu jagate aneka samsari jan mukti lage bhaktya kare Krishna bhajan. There are many people within this material world who desire liberation, and for this purpose they render devotional service to Lord Krishna. Those who desire liberation, they worship Krishna. And then this is quoted, the same verse is quoted here, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mumuksho Gora Rupan Hitva Bhuta Padinatha Narayana Kala Shanta Bhajanti Anusuyava. So they worship. Say Savera Sadhu Sange Guna Spuraya Krishna Bhajan Karya Mumuksha Chaya Chadaya. Now this is something interesting. See, they desire the liberation, but if those who are attached to demigod worship fortunately associate with the devotees, their dormant devotional service and appreciation of the Lord's qualities gradually awaken. In this way, they also engage in Krishna's devotional service and give up the desire for liberation and the desire to merge into the existence of impersonal Brahman. So there, first of all, the finding the Mumukshu itself is very rare. But this Mumukshu, those who want to merge into the Brahman, if they somehow by good fortune get in touch with the devotees, then they can attain the complete perfection. So this is quoted from the Hari Bhakti Sudhodaya. O great learned devotee, although there are many faults in this material world, there is one good opportunity, the association with devotees. Such association brings about great happiness. Due to this good quality or strong desire to achieve liberation by merging into the Brahman effulgence has become weakened. So devotee association can even help one to rise beyond this mumukshu stage also, which is basically desire for liberation. This is impersonal liberation actually. But when one comes in touch with devotees, and then he can give up the desire of this kind of liberation. And there are examples. What is the example? Best example? Narada Rasanga Shaunakadi Munigan Mumuksha Chadiya Kaila Krishna Bhajan. Narada Rasanga, by the association with the great saint Narad, Shaunak and other great sages gave up the desire for liberation and then Krishna Bhajan, engaged in Krishna's devotional service. Krishnera darshan karo Krishnera kripaya mumuksha chadiya gune bhaje tan rapaya. Simply by meeting Krishna or receiving Krishna's special favor, one can give up the desire for liberation. Being attracted by the transcendental qualities of Krishna, one can engage in his service. So like that. So this verse, what we are reading today, is explaining about Mumukshubi. Prabhupada is explaining that itself is very rare. Those who desire the liberation, they will hitva gora rupan, they will give up the demigod worship. So and then Prabhupada explained demigod worship, different type of worships and all of that. But those who are interested in liberation, they never do that. But those who are interested in liberation also, different types. Mumukshu bhi, Jivan Mukta, and Swarup Siddhi Prapt. So in that also, if these people come in touch with the devotees, they can go beyond this also. And then they can understand the personal feature of the Supreme Lord and engage in the devotional service of the Lord by chanting and hearing about Krishna. So just to conclude, we can understand that just by being under the shelter of Srila Prabhupada and in the devotee association, we become the rarest of the rarest entities in the entire creation. First of all, that Mumukshubi itself is very rare. But in that also, to understand in devotee association about Krishna's personal aspect, chanting about Krishna, reading about Krishna, hearing about Krishna is even more rare. And we got that just like that. We didn't do anything. This is the causeless mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So we are very, very fortunate having received Srila Prabhupada's mercy, shelter. So now we can engage nicely in the service of the Lord. Okay, so these are some of the thoughts on this verse. Anybody has any quick question or any comment? Somebody wants to add something, ask something. Well, let's start with this. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.